And welcome again to Not the Andrew Neil Show. I promised to say thank you again to Peter Mailing, who came up with the name, Not the Andrew Neil Show. So, your name check now, okay? Meanwhile, today, regular guests are Norrie Stewart, political cartoonist, Phil Attridge, political ranter.
Yeah, something like that.
And myself, Stuart Lockhead. And today's review of First Minister's questions we anticipate to be light-hearted and short. Well then, let's start off with the overall impressions and the scores out of 10. Norrie.
Joanna Lamont. Jesus, she got it all wrong. She stumbled, she couldn't take her eyes off the paper. The questions were basically nonsense. I mean, for the first time ever, there's statistical evidence of the position of our kids in schools. She'd nothing to compare it with. She's just presuming that everything's going wrong. The curriculum for excellence seems to be working. Well, can you believe statistics? But seems to be working in the primary schools and is about to be rolled out in the secondary schools. But she's accusing the SNP of doing nothing about it. What the Labour Party were doing when they held the reins of power with our education system, I have no idea. But Joanna doesn't get near it. I mean, 3 out of 10.
3 out of 10 today?
Because she turned up.
Okay. Phil. Joanna.
I'm afraid I have to concur with it. It was embarrassing. I thought, like Norrie said, stumbling. I mean, she was getting... she was ridiculous, and it was a mixture of pathetic sound bites. Yes, no. Actually, Salmond later on, actually termed it. It was just, just totally, utterly negative and nihilistic. It was just...
Actually, what questions did she ask? I couldn't figure out any of the questions she asked.
I don't think she even knew what she was talking. She was trying to be smart.
Speeches.
She was trying to be smart because Salmond was a racing tipster, so she was using this. This was Joanne's being smart. I'm sorry. I think 3.
What does 3 to 2 against mean in the context of a child's education?
Yeah. Well, I mean, she got that wrong. She started with 3 to 2 and then went to 5 to 2. Mind you, maybe she knows the bookies up the odds occasionally.
I don't even know what it's supposed to indicate.
I had
what
no
does
idea.
it mean?
But Norrie gave it
2.
3 to 2.
Put 30 quid on to win 20.
Exactly.
But what's that got to do with education?
She thought she was being smart, but she wasn't. Norrie gave her 3 for turning up. If she hadn't turned up, I'd have given her 5. That's okay.
Okay, well, I have to say, I was exasperated. I think that's the best word.
It was a waste.
What a waste of time, that woman standing on her feet. As I said, indicated there, I have no idea what question she asked. I have no idea what she was talking about, 3 to 2, 5 to 2, on or against. I don't bet. I doubt if pupils bet, and what's that got to do with education? I'd give her nothing. Absolutely nothing, because she did nothing but embarrass the Labour Party.
Aye, I mean...
Nothing out of 10.
They've had a bad week, badly failed, been caught out, admitting in a tweet that the Labour Party policy is to support the SNP in nothing, whether they're right or wrong.
Well, this was William Bain. He's an MP. Apparently the Labour Party failed to vote against this reduction in the 50% tax rate that their own Shadow Chancellor promised they would do.
Well, they didn't turn up.
Well, that's even worse than not being there.
They didn't turn up.
And it's a party policy to vote against anything the SNP vote for, regardless of the quality of the argument.
Credit where credit's due. Skinner was there and voted against it because he treats Parliament as a job. While it's open, he's working. You know, so, I mean, the guys that were there, I believe there was 2 of them, supported the amendment. But it's a sad reflection. Sad reflection.
Well, let's move on. Carry on with where we're trying to review FMqs. Ruth Davidson, Norrie.
Again, delivery was very good. She brings passion. She gets the odd joke in. I don't know though. They're finding it really, really difficult to catch the SNP in substantial questions. They can't do it effectively. I mean, her credibility is shot to hell because of things that are happening in Westminster. Her lines in the sand are being kicked in her face. It's just not working for her. But her performance as a performer, again, she's been consistently good and seems to be getting better. She's concise, you understand what she's asking, and she delivers it well. So I'm going to give her an 8 out of 10, although she has a problem with the substance of her questions.
Yeah, well, I'd give her 8 for delivery, but for content I'd give her 3. Because there wasn't any content in there because, well, she's a Tory.
Did she actually ask a question on the issue again? Or was it just a case of an excuse to make a speech?
Well, she was writing on education.
Yeah.
I mean, that's essentially what she did. She accused Alex Salmond of picking on Joanne Lamont, not answering the question. Well, he didn't really have a choice.
He didn't have a question to answer. I'm a clever guy, I know that. I don't know what she said.
But when Salmon was going, I mean, in the primary school, so you talk about figures of 99, 97% when you talk about numeracy and everything else. I mean, the literacy rate in this country has been appalling for years, way before. And it says there's been no statistics up to now. They have the statistics.
So what
use them.
Well, exactly. What is the point of trotting out reams of statistics? Because, you know, you've got a soundbite.
They all play into Alex Salmond's hands because he's good at statistics.
Yeah, and he was excellent. He was.
But you're giving her a score. I would give her, and I agree with you. I think she sounded as though she was doing well. But I actually was watching very carefully. Now, her right man, her deputy, is Jackson Carlow. And all the time that she was speaking, he was in frame. Sorry to get technical, guys. He was right beside her, and he was staring intently at her speech. It looks as though he was making sure she actually said what was on the piece of paper. Well, Joanne Lamont having failed to read her own speech.
Well, she delivered well.
But the question was, what did she deliver?
Well, I mean, she did. The only thing they can do is to attack Salmond on small issues. Blankets and towels last week. Basically not making a dramatic improvement in 15 months in our education system. I mean, are the people out there so stupid as to fall for that? Maybe.
Probably not, but the whole point, I mean, the thing is, you'll see it with the Westminster, the simple fact is that Labour will always oppose anything at all the SNP do. Why? Because they obviously, there's nothing coming from their benches on what they would do. What would you do in its place?
Obviously
there's nothing there.
That discredits them completely. They have no value. I have to say, I think Salmon just put Ruth Davidson down completely because it was the Daily Mail headline. Yeah. Was it past days, petrol, politics and panic?
But I'd say going as well, one of the classic was with the minimum prices. Now we know why Ruth Davidson and everybody and the other two supported the SNP in minimum pricing because they're doing it down south. But it's Labour. Labour are against minimum prices, so they abstain. They don't actually vote against, apart from Malcolm Chisholm. And then you had the Dr. Simpson on, going on about, yes, but look at these huge profits. But then they voted against the Tesco tax to take this money off them.
Actually,
they're all over the place. It's embarrassing.
They're all over the place, including Alex Salmond on this issue, because the one advantage, the sole advantage of the Westminster government getting involved in this minimum pricing is that the tax rate can be used to penalise, on a minimum price per unit of alcohol, the tax rate can be used to collect any windfall profits that they make. Yeah,
but do you seriously think the Tories will do that?
Well, good
That's not what they'll do.
Anyway, out of Ruth, I'd give Ruth she performed well, 6 or 7. But content again, rubbish. We've got to move on to Willie Rennie, who actually got a question. We can't miss him out completely, although I can't see where I wrote anything down about him.
It was the Scottish bill, the 6 red lines.
Oh yeah, the 6 red lines. I think it was a good question, but he didn't ask well.
It was. Unfortunately, again, the party up here has to take a different line from the party down south. Party policy is all the things that were in that bill that Salmond wanted out, changed, more of, the Liberal Party have at some point supported.
We knew this when they first went into the list. The SNP made a point of pointing out to us that these were all other Scottish political parties policies that they'd included in this list.
Oh, they've got a word for this, you see. Mine, David Cameron told you. You know, I mean, just remember where you are, Northern Britain. It's called the Respect Agenda.
But the important
I don't
one,
think.
the seriously important
Okay.
issue that the SNP did win was that Westminster cannot unilaterally make decisions on the content of the Scottish Bill. They have to be discussed. Everybody kind of misses this one, I don't know why. But the really important thing is, yeah, take everything they're going to give us, but do not allow them to control the decisions involving the Scottish Bill. They now have to sit down with the Scottish Parliament. And if, in effect, that means is they can't claw anything back, which was the big no-no for the SNP in the bill.
Fair enough.
Then we got Helen Eady's question.
Well,
as
that was interesting. We were
Donald
discussing
Jetty
that. We were discussing. Phil and I were discussing that before we sat down to watch that, and we were discussing what happened to
Gordon
Brown. You know, he's got all the time in the world now to pursue this issue of the radioactive beach in his constituency, and yet he seems to have materially failed to do anything on behalf of his constituents. I mean, what else has he got to do?
He's got £1.5 million to give away.
But what has he got to... He's got nothing else to do as an MP. He's been paid as an MP, he doesn't go to the Commons. All he's got to do is speak up for his constituents.
He's sulking, probably.
What does he do? He's been in the Commons once.
Yeah, he's probably away sulking and being...
He's making a lot of money.
And being important, yes, which he's giving away, because he's such a nice man.
Well, as long as he's giving it away.
He is giving it away.
Well, look here. My impression of the overall impression of today's FMqs was it was an opportunity for Alex Salmond to grandstand, because you know what it is. You know, the first question is from Joanne Lamont is what the cabinet discussed today or something like that. It's a very general question. So he was able to go on and on about renewables. 35% had been of our electricity had been produced by renewables in 2011. The target was only 31%, and then when it came to the Elgin platform, the gas leak there, he was able to say how good it was that everybody was evacuated without loss or injury. It was, I think, Salmond did very well out of today.
I actually thought the questions that weren't asked by the party leaders were the better questions.
Okay, what was
well,
that?
Richard Simpson's one that had already been alluded to about a windfall tax for supermarkets, etc. Well, you know, there's a source of income there. It might well be.
It was supposed to be it was calculated about 30 million, I think.
Well, what wouldn't it be fun if the SNP decided to go with that? What the Labour Party going to do then?
Well, they vote against it, of course.
Do you know?
Consistently stupid.
Even the question, which was very badly delivered by Helen Eady.
Oh goodness, what a muddle she was.
Yeah.
But it's relevant. I mean, it's radiation on the coastline of Scotland and the MOD prevaricating on paying for it. Salmond came back with that one by saying, okay, it's really in the purview of Westminster, but if I have to get personally involved, I will.
I think she did at least end up with a question. Well, at least Salmond took it as a question. Would Alex Salmond intervene and request the Prime Minister to intervene, who's the only person who's superior to the MOD, you know, whoever the Defence Minister is, on that issue.
You got to give a score for Salmond?
I think he did rather well today. I think I'll give him 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I'll give him 8 because his delivery wasn't crisp. He's got a lot of stats running about his head, and it's becoming obvious.
Magisterial.
Can I give him
Magisterial.
According to Ruth Davidson.
Can I give him a
Lamontism.
Can I give him a Lamontism?
What was that?
16 for 8?
I wish you knew what that meant.
Exactly.
Thank you very much, guys. It's been a pleasure today.